Howdy everyone, and welcome back to this tutorial series. In the previous video we managed to fetch all the data related to a particular company, and namely the company itself and also the job created by that company. So let me refresh this so we can see that clearly. So if I look at the payload that we are printing here, you see the company and the jobs created by that particular company, right? But as you can see, these data are displayed in the console log. That's not why we want them. We want them on the page, and that's the goal of this particular video, is to display this all this information that we're currently displaying in the console log on the page itself, but with a nice style using Tailwind CSS. And just like with every Tailwind tutorial in the series, we are not going to code live unlike other tutorials, but I'm going to walk you through what I did. I think it's the best use of your time. And for more details, and again, this is not a Tailwind tutorial, it's a Contentful and Next.js tutorial. For more information about Tailwind specifically, I'll put links in the description of this video so you can learn more. By the time you watch this, there are going to be plenty of Tailwind tutorials on the channel that you can refer to. So with that, let's jump right into the design of this. I'm going to walk you through first of all what I did, and then we're going to look at the code. And you can see here, this is very simple. If you remember from the content modeling, we had the background image, the cover image for each company, the logo, the name of the company, the slogan of the company, the city of the company, the website, and then here we have a listing. Multiple listings that's actually grouped by job category. So this is a software development and this is a UX job. Unlike, for example, the main page where every job is displayed, all the jobs are displayed in a single list. Here we are grouping for a particular company. We are grouping the jobs of that company by job category. Okay, and we're gonna see how we did that. And finally, a button here to go back to all the jobs. Okay, so now let's quickly look at the code and see how we can achieve this design. All right, so I'm gonna collapse my terminal. Okay, I'm gonna close this, and the first thing that you see, obviously here I'm using this this utility function to group the jobs by job category. So we get the company jobs and I group them by job category. Okay, I group them by job category, as you can see here. Okay, now the first thing that we do obviously is we print the cover image of that company. So if I remove this, see, no more cover image, right? So that's the first element. Okay, I'm gonna collapse this and I'm gonna enter this into the header. Okay, the first thing that we display here is the avatar, the logo, right after the background image. The next element is the avatar, and you can see that we add a negative margin at the top, right? That's why the margin, the image, the logo here overlaps slightly with the in the background image. If I remove this, you see that it's going to be at the bottom, right? You see, nicely at the bottom, but we definitely want that to overlap a little bit with the cover image. That's why we add this margin top -12 attribute in the class name. And then the next thing, as you can see here, the image itself is displayed in the round format. The image coming from the database already is round, so I think maybe the best one to look at the changes. Let's look at the different company. Maybe let's click on this one here, and just so you see, right, it's no longer round. But if I put that thing back, see, yeah, anyway, the image doesn't necessarily reflect that, but this is an important attribute. Okay, now the next thing we want to do obviously is to make sure that the images are not too big. So for example, if I put here 190, it's not going to be it's going to be a little bit too big. For example, if I could increase this as well, you see it's a bit too big. So we want to have like a nice ratio based on the overall design. And the next thing we want to display is the company name, obviously, and the company slogan. So that's what we have here. Here you already know this. First of all, the margin bottom. Okay, we want to make sure that after this when you're displaying the next thing, which are basically these two elements, you have like a margin of 4. So if I increase this, you see it's going to add a big margin. You see, added a big margin here, but we don't want that. Obviously 4 is a perfect number. And for the company name, we want that to stand out, so we add a big font. We can even make it bigger by putting 3 here. It's going to make it bigger. I think 2 is just fine, right? And we make it stand out with a stronger with a stronger contrast by putting it to 800. If you go to 200, you see that it's no longer visible. It basically blends with the background. Obviously we want 800 there. And for the slogan, I think it's perfect. We're using just the default. We don't necessarily need to add any styling. I think it looks just great. And with that we are done with this section. Okay, then we move to this particular element here, where we are using some SVGs to as our icons. First, the first one is for the company city, and then the second one is for the link, the website of the company. All right, and these are basically and for the text of the link, right, we want to use a color indigo, and we want to make it a bit stronger when we hover on it. I don't know if you can see. Let me zoom a little bit, and maybe let me add a different color here. Let me put maybe red. Okay, so when I hover, you see the color is completely red now, right? So that's how you handle state in Tailwind, right? So you want this to look a little bit, I think 700 will be even better here, right? When you hover on it, it gives you like that stronger yeah, it's more visible than 600. Okay, so now the next thing after this is basically this section here, open positions add, right? We put the company name again. This, we want this to stand out, right? And after this, right after that, the next things we start doing is we loop over the job group by categories that we created initially at the top here. Let me collapse this one. All right, let me collapse this also. Very good. Right, so here we have this function. I want basically I'll let you look at this for yourself, but basically this function loops over an array of jobs and group them based on a particular key, and in this case we are passing in the job category key, and that function will return a list of jobs. Let's look at the console to see what is being returned by that function. Okay, so I think for this to show nicely, I'm going to go back to a company that has actually many jobs grouped by different categories. I think this one, Lift Adventures. All right, so let's look at the terminal, the console log for this particular company. Let's extend this a little bit. All right, so let's refresh this and let's see what we are printing here. All right, you see, we are grouping jobs grouped by categories. We have two categories, just like we are seeing here. Okay, it's just like we are seeing here, exactly the same. So we have software development and then UX design, right? So we have two at the entrance of the function. We have them in a single array, but when they go into this utility function, job group array of objects, we now have them separated into two clusters, right, based on the job category, and that's exactly what we are displaying here now. So if I expand this again, I get out of this, and we look at this here, when we are iterating over them, right, we have, first of all, we need to make sure that this list is actually it's not empty, right? Once we know that it's not empty, then we iterate over the keys of that array of basically this is not an array, sorry, this is an object that has keys, and each key is the job category mapping to the array of jobs that are relevant for that category, right? So we iterate over the keys. That's what we get here, job category, and for each key we get the jobs, okay, related to that particular job category, and then we display using, once again, our component that we created earlier, the job list component, which is the same one that we're using here actually, but just with the subset of jobs, for that particular company, and not only that, for that particular job category. Okay, so for that particular company, and not only that, for that particular job category, I wanted to say. All right, and finally, the final element here is basically return back to the main page, right? So we have a margin top here. If I put 60, you're going to see it's going to increase dramatically. Right, 6 is just fine, and that's it. Like I said earlier, I don't want to do a lot of Tailwind in this Next.js Contentful course, and for more information and more to learn more about Tailwind specifically, there are plenty of resources on the channel to learn that. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.